Sigma is the former commander of the Maverick Hunters and the main overarching antagonist of the Mega Man X series. For as many Mega Man characters as we've gotten in the Versus games, it's kinda funny to me that it took until Infinite to get a villain from any of the Mega Man X games. Yeah, sure, there's Tron, but as formidable as she is, she and her family are generally the comic relief villains in Mega Man Legends. Though Sigma's machinations form the basis of the conflicts presented in the series, he was once an honorable Reploid that had the respect of many of his subordinates during his time as leader of the Maverick Hunters. It was during one such mission as commander that he'd undertake a mission that would, unbeknownst to him, change him and the world forevermore. His unit was sent to investigate an unidentified Maverick that appeared to be berserk and had slaughtered all of the units previously sent to look into the matter. This crazed Maverick ended up being a newly awoken Zero, running under his original programming from Dr. Wily, the main antagonist of the original Mega Man series and Zero's creator. Sigma was able to keep up with Zero for a while, but the latter got the upper hand in the fight and began brutalizing Sigma. An opening presented itself though, and in desperation, Sigma punched Zero square in the gem directly in the center of his helmet. This punch changed everything. Sigma was able to knock out Zero with that punch, but unbeknownst to him, the nearby capsule Zero had awakened from also kept a nasty secret that permeated the area where they fought. A malicious computer virus that causes Reploids to go Maverick. Sigma, being one of the most advanced Reploids of his time, had many antivirus protocols in place in his systems, keeping the virus from fully controlling him. To adapt to this, the virus instead mutated and merged with his programming instead, forming what would later become known as the Sigma virus. The Sigma virus would slowly but surely overtake Sigma's original programming, leading to Sigma having more radical beliefs on the state of human and Reploid relations. Beliefs that would eventually hit a boiling point and cause Sigma to stage a large-scale rebellion against humans, beginning the event of the first Mega Man X game. Because the Sigma virus is sentient, it can travel between different host bodies, even if its physical form is defeated, which explains how Sigma is always able to come back after being defeated. This was first shown in Mega Man X2, where his final form is the virus itself, depicted as a wireframe head. He'd harass X and Zero over the course of the series, taking particular interest in Zero in Mega Man X4 and X5. It's implied that he learned of Zero's true nature as a creation of Dr. Wily through his connection to the original Maverick virus he contracted during his fight with Zero, which may have somehow let Dr. Wily contact him from beyond the grave. Sigma continues to incite conflicts across the planet in what would become to be known as the Maverick Wars. During the events of Mega Man X8, it's revealed that a new generation of Reploids have begun production not unlike Axel, with the unique ability to render themselves immune to the Sigma virus. It's soon discovered that not only were these new generation Reploids working for Sigma, but they also contained Sigma's DNA as well. X, Zero, and Axel track Sigma down to his palace on the surface of the moon, where they engage in battle with him. This time, it ends in Sigma's permanent defeat, because the virus had no way to replicate or find another host body in the vacuum of space. Sigma debuted as a playable character in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and was notably the first announced DLC character for the game. Despite his status as a DLC character, Sigma plays a large role in the game's story mode, making up half of the game's fused antagonist, Ultron Sigma. We'll talk about the specifics of that character in another video. While Sigma's visual design in Infinite is taken squarely from his original body from the first Mega Man X game, his moveset is interestingly enough sourced almost entirely from Mega Man X8. Nearly all of his moves share names with attacks he uses in his two boss fights against them in X8, the move names themselves being taken from the official Japanese strategy guide. Sigma's voice actor in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is Chris Tagliaferra. He's a pretty prominent voice actor in the anime dub space, having done voices in One Punch Man, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders, and Jujutsu Kaisen to name a few. He's also done smaller parts for video games as well, though as far as Capcom stuff goes, he was notably the voice of Fugen in Monster Hunter Rise. I kinda want to stop for a sec here and talk about his role as Sigma in this game, as it's arguably the game's standout voice performance. In a game where a lot of the voice acting is kind of strangely subdued, He clearly understood the assignment for this character, because Sigma has some of the most delightful, over-the-top line reads in the entire game. Half the fun of playing Sigma in this game is just listening to him shout at the top of his lungs with every attack, his level 3 in particular being a highlight. Not to say the other voice actors are bad or anything, but there's an energy in his delivery that's unmatched by practically every other character in the game, save for maybe Jedha. I've been wanting to talk about Sigma for a while, so without any further ado, Sigma's a pretty interesting character in Infinite. While his trademark lightsaber would make you believe he's a melee-oriented monster, Sigma's biggest strength comes from his insane screen control potential. His Arc Divide special move allows him to essentially place lingering hitboxes on the screen that he can easily convert into full combos from. A lot of Sigma's moveset has fantastic combo conversion utility to it, both for incoming tag partners or even himself, with some of his supers being able to combo into each other. That said, he kind of needs that screen control, because he otherwise has very little mix-up potential and has a difficult time opening up opponents on his own. Sigma's theme in Infinite is a remix of his first phase boss theme in Mega Man X2. That's one of his more popular boss themes, right up there with his Mega Man X6 theme, which incidentally also remixes both of his X2 themes as well. Like Zero's theme in this game and Marvel 3, which is also a Mega Man X2 arrangement, the original track is a really short loop, so there's an extra portion of the song added to pad it out a bit. It's a pretty heavy dubstep section in Sigma's case here, and while I'm not a fan of that genre of music at all, it thankfully doesn't overstay its welcome and loops back into the original melody admittedly well. Sigma, weirdly enough, has an air dash in this game. It doesn't go far and doesn't really help him out all that much mobility-wise, but it's neat that it's there. I guess they just wanted every Mega Man character in the game to have an air dash or something. Sigma has a grounded command normal in this game, Overload Laser. Sigma aims a laser from the gem on his forehead diagonally downwards at the opponent. For as simple as this looks, this is a deceptively decent neutral tool that's also special cancelable, meaning Sigma can cancel this into his following special moves and get his offense started from there. Arc Divide is Sigma's first special move in the game, done with a quarter circle forward in either any punch or any kick, the button determining where Sigma slashes. This is the most important tool in Sigma's kit and how you'll be engaging offense against the opponent a majority of the time. Arc Divide! Arc Divide! Sigma slashes and leaves behind a lingering hitbox for a few seconds. These have a pretty generous amount of hits done, and combined with Sigma's other offensive tools, effectively let Sigma start his combo game from just about anywhere on screen reliably. These even have some defensive utility as a way to limit your opponent's mobility, something Sigma desperately needs since defense is an area he's lacking in. The Light Punch variant is a slash that leaves a rift directly in front of Sigma. The Heavy Punch variant is an anti-air slash that leaves one in front of Sigma but quite a bit higher. The Light Kick variant leaves a rift over the opponent's head. The Heavy Kick variant is a horizontal slash that leaves a rift directly in front of the opponent at max range and at the opponent's position itself at regular range. Keep in mind that the Heavy Kick variant will whiff if this variation is done in the corner due to it spawning off screen instead. If you thought this move couldn't get any more ridiculous, well, it can. Sigma can perform a follow-up to this move called Second Divide. This is a follow-up slash that will also leave a dimensional rift on screen for a short time as well. The rift placement will be identical to where it's placed when the corresponding kick button is used for Arc Divide. Sigma has an attack in Mega Man X8 called Arc Divide, but there it's a single leaping upward slash. Straight Divide is a shoulder tackle followed up with a slash attack. No escape! The angle of the attack is dependent on the punch button pressed. This attack has armor and isn't stopped by projectiles, but more notably is how you'll be converting stray hits from Arc Divide into full combos, thanks to how mobile Sigma is during this attack. This can be done in the air as well. Straight Divide is a move taken from the copy Sigma fight in Mega Man X8. However, that move itself seems also based on one of Sigma's attacks from the very first boss fight against them in the first Mega Man X game. Quarter Circle Back and Kick is Reflector Magnum, which fires off some projectiles that bound across the corners of the screen.
Reflect Magnum!
This one's also taken from the copy Sigma fight in Mega Man X8. Mirage Claw is a command grab with a down-down punch motion.
You can't hide! Fear me!
Sigma grabs the opponent before slashing them with his saber. This is an admittedly slow command grab, and though Sigma can combo off of the heavy variation, the damage is scaled so harshly that it's largely not worth it. This move is taken from the fight against his true form in Mega Man X8, where he'll grab you and drain your health unless your partner comes to bail you out. Down, down, and kick is counter teleport. Sigma will hold his lightsaber out in a defensive position. If he's attacked during this period, he'll retaliate with a teleport slash.
Come and get me!
While this isn't really all that great for physical attacks, he can reflect projectiles while the counter is active, and if any projectile hits him that can't be reflected, like a beam, he'll do the teleport slash as if it was a physical attack instead.
Looking for me! Come and get me! Looking for me!
Sigma's first hyper combo is Doom Buster, done with a quarter circle forward and 2 kicks. This is a fast, but otherwise fairly standard multi-hitting projectile that can also be fired off in the air.
I will obliterate you! Doom Buster! Maxima!
This attack is taken from the move of the same name in Mega Man X8. Blazing Line is done with a quarter circle forward and 2 kicks. Sigma jumps in the air and fires a laser from the gem on his forehead that engulfs the floor in flames. This isn't really a combo-friendly super, but has fantastic utility as a way to cover an active switch tag in.
Maxima! Prepare for annihilation! Burn! Maxima!
Both Copy Sigma and True Sigma in X8 have this move, though the version in Infinite resembles the Copy Sigma variation specifically. Quarter Circle Back and 2 punches is Rave Divide.
For your obsolete race! Disappear! Maxima!
Sigma does a continuous set of forward advancing slashes with his lightsaber. Like Blazing Line, this is a really good hyper combo to lock down your opponent with and essentially guarantee a safe tag in, and it lasts long enough that you can set up some pretty tricky mix-ups while it's active. Rave Divide is an attack exclusive to Sigma's true form in Mega Man X8. Sigma's final hyper combo is, well, Final Sigma. Sigma attempts to grab the opponent, and if it lands, they're teleported to cyberspace and assaulted by wireframe copies of Sigma, presumably in his virus form. The wireframe copies of Sigma are a nod to Mega Man X2 and X3, where the Sigma virus's true form is depicted as a wireframe version of Sigma's head. These wireframe visuals actually required a special chip to be rendered on the Super Nintendo, the Capcom CX4 chip. This chip, integrated into the PCBs of every Mega Man X2 and X3 cartridge, performs complex calculations that allowed the system to draw, rotate, and transform wireframe objects. Pretty neat stuff. The cyberspace background during this Super is also a nod to Mega Man X8. It's the same background that appears during the tag team attacks you can perform in that game. Between the tag super moves, the emphasis on combos, being able to tag out your characters on the fly, and the red health system from the Versus games essentially being lifted for X8's character switching mechanic, it's kind of neat that X8 has a bit of fighting game inspiration going on in it. The name of the Super itself is also a nod to the name of Sigma's final form in Mega Man X5, Final Sigma W. The W more than likely referring to the character implied to have somehow constructed this body for Sigma, Dr. Wily. I also want to highlight Sigma's voice lines here, as they're some of the most hype line reads in the game.
I shall unify the world! From Alpha to Omega! This is how the world should be! Ah! Miserable worm. I shall unify the world! Now meet your end! Bow down to me! Ah! Miserable worm.
Here are all of Sigma's colors. Color 2 looks to be based off of Vile, a recurring Maverick thread in the series whom Sigma would occasionally employ. He appears in Mega Man X, Mega Man Extreme, Mega Man X3, and Mega Man X8 before finally becoming playable in Maverick Hunter X, a PSP remake of the first Mega Man X game, in an unlockable What If campaign. The color scheme here is based on the design seen in X1, Extreme, and Maverick Hunter X. Sigma's alternate costume is his Psycho Sigma form from Mega Man X5. In X5, Sigma enacts a plan to spread the Sigma virus across the globe, with the sole purpose of using it to awaken Zero's original programming as a ruthless bringer of destruction. The second color has a red and black color scheme with silver and yellow accents. This color might actually be a nod to Sigma 1, one of Sigma's forms from the comic book crossover Worlds Unite by Archie Comics. Archie Comics most famously had a long-running comic book series based on Sonic the Hedgehog, and in its later years, the creative team for that book also launched a Mega Man comic based on the classic Mega Man series, and the two inevitably crossed over in the story Worlds Collide. Worlds Unite is a sequel to that story, starting with a jump forward to the Mega Man X timeline, where Sigma learns of a way to traverse the multiverse sometime between the events of Mega Man X7 and X8, and enacts a plan to conquer it. This ends up not only bringing in both the classic and X series alongside Sonic, but eventually expands to worlds from across Sega and Capcom's stable of IP, including Monster Hunter, Nights in the Dreams, Street Fighter, and Billy Hatcher, among others. This crossover has a special place in my heart for incorporating characters from two of my favorite RPGs of all time, Breath of Fire 3 and Skies of Arcadia. I would have dedicated an entire comic book recommendation section for this, but because Archie Comics ended up canceling both Mega Man and Sonic books shortly after this, they removed the ability to read these digitally, and only 2 of the 3 planned trade paperbacks for this story actually released, the third one being cancelled. So the only way to read through the entire crossover would be tracking down the single issues, which is pretty time consuming, or finding more off-the-books ways to acquire them. I'm sure there's probably someplace on the internet that's archived them out there, but that's all I really have to say on the matter. Sigma's final color may or may not be a nod to Gate from Mega Man X6. Here are all of Sigma's character interactions.
Sigma! X, it's you! Interesting. Sigma! Yes, we are the agents of destruction. Sigma! The machine shall dominate! Sigma! We are destined to rule! All worlds have such fools who call themselves heroes.
Avengers, assemble!
Unknown species, I will dissect you after I've defeated you.
I've squashed galactic threats. This is small time.
Interesting technology. I shall study it after I destroy you.
I've heard about you, but I don't think I'm gonna lose you.
Your power is impressive. I look forward to making it mine.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Your pointless heroism in Tier X. Prepare to be scrap-metal.
As long as I stand, there's hope. I will defeat you.
Zero, your body holds limitless potential. Surrender it to me.
Found a Maverick. I'll take care of it.
I would despise this alliance, but for the sweet hatred in your eyes.
Show me your skill.
Power from a dimension unknown to me. How interesting.
No problem. This will be over quickly.
You claim you should not be judged by your size. Demonstrate! Kill them!
Got any last words?
Well, to that power, I will take it for my own! Fools, our will is law. We will destroy you. How pitiful. My other half couldn't contain the power. Do you think you can defeat us?
Ready!
Sigma, despite not actually being on the base roster, is the only playable character in the game to have a stage associated with only them, and on top of that, it's one of 2 stages in the game that isn't a complete fusion of Marvel and Capcom elements, not counting the training room. This stage is Able City, Sigma's lab. It appears in the story mode and actually has some plot significance there. It's the location where Sigma and Ultron enact the first steps in their plan to fuse and conquer both the Capcom and Marvel universes, starting with Ultron intentionally destroying Sigma's physical form, so that the Sigma virus can merge with his programming. Thanos and Iron Man also come here to construct the Infinity Buster, the device X uses to harness the Infinity Stones and eventually destroy Ultron Sigma. Thanos notices that some of the tech is based on Sigma's research on X's ability to copy powers and uses that specific technology to construct a gauntlet that allowed him to absorb the Satsui no Hado from Ryu, which we see in the game's post-credit scene. Because this location is the center of the Convergence, the in-story name for the merging of both universes, it's the only Capcom location in the game that isn't fused with a Marvel location. There's an ambient mechanical humming noise in the background that you'll likely never hear over the character themes, but if you turn the music off like I do when recording footage of this game, you'll hear it. I like to think I'm a reasonably intelligent person, but sometimes I'm not the sharpest knife in the crayon box. I spent a good half hour trying to figure out if something was wrong with my capture card or OBS that was causing this weird mechanical humming sound before realizing, oh, this is coming from the game. There's all manners of computer screens in the background of the stage, many of which seem to be depicting X's internal systems. Some of the schematics here call to mind the Attract Mode intro sequence for the first Mega Man X game that shows similar diagrams detailing X's capabilities. There seems to be some spikes adorning some sections of the ceiling, which seems like a hilarious thing to construct, but is actually kind of in line with Sigma's aesthetic sensibilities. The spiked cuffs seen on Sigma in his original Mega Man X design weren't always there. In the X4 flashback that takes place before the series started, he's seen without them. I'm guessing the implication is that he added them when he went Maverick to look more intimidating and I guess literally edgier. There's an assembly line in the background that appears to be assembling Ultron drones, which is the only Marvel related thing in this stage. Let's actually talk about the location of this stage, Able City. While the X games have taken place across the globe, we've known that the Maverick Hunter headquarters X and Zero operate out of are in some sort of city. We don't get a name for that city shown in the first game specifically until Maverick Hunter X on PSP, Able City. The name itself is possibly a play on Cain and Abel. The series has an important character named Dr. Cain, the scientist that discovered X and used his design to produce the first Reploids, one of which was Sigma. Maverick Hunter X was the first and regrettably only released game in a set of planned remakes of the Mega Man X series. This remake essentially took the aesthetics of the most recent X game, Mega Man X8, and retold the first game's story. Maverick Hunter X seems to be what they use as their main visual reference for X1 related stuff in Infinite, as the Maverick Hunter X design for Maverick Hunter HQ is seen in the background of the X-Guard stage, as well as in a story mode cutscene. However, Maverick Hunter X makes some story changes that kind of place it in its own continuity, especially considering it didn't sell well enough to get follow-up remakes. One of these actually concerns Sigma. In the mainline games, it's established in the aforementioned Mega Man X4 flashback that Sigma got the scars around his eyes from fighting Zero. In Maverick Hunter X, however, he instead gets this from X shortly before the events of the game, as depicted in the bundled OVA, Day of Sigma, which shows the events that directly led up to the start of Sigma's rebellion. Crossover games cherry-picking things from different continuities is nothing new, so I'm not really bothered or anything, but I do find it a little amusing in this case. You know, I don't get to say this about characters in this game too often, but I think the development team did a pretty good job with Sigma. Sure, maybe he could have had a more complex moveset that incorporated more of his attacks from across the series, but I appreciate that they at least committed to locking down a singular game to source his moveset from, instead of just making stuff up for the game. His voice actor did a phenomenal job with his performance, and his moveset seems tailored around getting the most out of the game's active switch system. He's not perfect, but I think he's just about what the baseline standard of quality for characters in this game should have been. Aside from showing up in boss raids in Mega Man X Dive in many forums, he's also popped up in a few other places as well, showing up alongside Vile in Project Cross Zone 2 in his body from Mega Man X4, as well as showing up in Teppen. Within the Mega Man continuity, the Sigma virus itself would be erased from the world permanently, and the Maverick Wars ended with the discovery and utilization of the Mother Elf. Unfortunately, that ended up leading to an even bloodier conflict that would set the stage for the dystopian Mega Man Zero series. Living in the world of the Mega Man games has gotta suck. That's going to do it for this video. As always, thanks for watching, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you next video.